Hey Donna, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. I realized I had the wrong intro video uploaded because it said June 27th and all the topics we already talked about. But we're not doing that. It's July 18th. There's been more things happening, more things to talk about. And I have my lovely co-host here, Donna Monkhouse, the Executive Director of the Alberta Landlord Residential Association. Thank you, Donna, for joining me again.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, we'll just give a few seconds warm up here as we get some people logged in. If you are here, come on, say hi. Let us know where you're watching from and join the conversation. It is very much interactive, so your guys' feedback and conversations contribute to a better conversation for everybody else. Donnie, you mentioned you had a lovely barbecue with over 100, you say 170 people showed up?
We had about, yeah, it was a good one. I count plates, right? So I have so many plates, so I count plates because I can't count the crowd. They're all over the place. So we have it at
Right.
Victoria Park every year, our appreciation barbecue. What a great day. The smoke didn't stop us, so it was still a great day. Everybody actually thought I was cooking, and that's why it was so smoky in the air. So that was okay. I didn't mind that. And so yeah, so we had about 170, 175 people there. A lot of fun, a lot of good food. We had a great day. It was a great day.
Very cool. And this was for your a
Members.
social barbecue for your association.
Yep. So we do a member
Yeah.
appreciation barbecue where we say thank you to our members.
Cool.
Our members are really special to us. So we like to say thank you to them as much as they support us, we support them.
Perfect. Awesome. I'm excited. You've got a really good list of conversations that we're looking to cover today. We're going to talk about digital e-signing, digital leases, electronic leases, the few terms that go by, and how they pertain to the Residential Tenancies Act,
Yep.
particularly Section 57. So this is your topic, Donna. So I'm excited to learn from you and on kind of what we'll uncover for everyone, and maybe get some feedback from the community of what other people are currently doing. And then I do as well have some talking points I have queued up here. There's three posts I saw that have garnered a lot of attention over the last couple of weeks here since we've gone live last. A 24-hour notice. So these are the do's and don'ts that we'll cover as well. The 24-hour notice, lease renewals and rent increases. There's a lot of nuances here because we have a lot of flexibility on how to run this part of the business. And then a statement of account and how to perform that, what's really required. And it could be as simple as an email or as crazy as you want to do with a formal statement.
I like them all.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
are these are questions I see in your group all the time, and these are questions I get all the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so they're big questions.
Okay. Again, if you guys are here, say hi. Let us know where you're watching from. And we're here to have conversations, help you out, and share some lessons learned. So, Donna, I'm going to give you the floor first. Let's talk about digital lease signing and Section 57 of the Act.
Oh, for sure. So I get a lot of questions like, oh, there's a lot of people want to do electronic leases all the time. We don't sell them here, by the way. We sell all the forms here at the Alberta Residential Landlord Association office. Look us up. It's albertalandlord.org. You can come on down. Just call before you do. We sell all the forms. I know somebody was looking for a move out the other day. Yeah, just give us a call. We're here Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 3:30, Monday to Thursday, Friday till 1, and we're out for events. So just give a call. The electronic leases, we don't do them largely because Section 57 of the Residential Tenancy Act is still very clear that you need to make all attempts to serve notices in person, registered mail. You need to effect personally. So that's notices, documents, orders, anything like that. It doesn't allow you in the RTA to do electronic service of documents unless you've tried all these things and they did not work. So I asked Service Alberta about electronic leases, and the answer comes back with, well, they're okay doing them. They're you're okay doing them, but it is still not allowed under Section 57. So if the tenant signs a lease, in my opinion, tenant signs a lease, you sign the lease, you both get a copy. I think that shows that it's been served, that it's been there.
Good
My
faith.
recommendation is always print a hard copy, take a hard copy, and mail it to them. Print a hard copy, put it under their door, or or somewhere, make sure they get a hard copy. Just so you know, we've written to the minister about this. We call it red tape reduction. I think it would be great if they
Yeah.
would use this very clause allowing for electronic document service if both parties agree before
Yes.
they come into place, and make it accessible. So as it stands, though, if your tenant says, well, I told them I wanted the lease agreement in my hand, that might all fly out the window with section 57. So I always recommend do a hard copy always. So I
Okay.
know people say, well, this is what we do. I know everybody's doing electronic leases. Just make sure you understand that. So I'm pretty sure the courts accept it, but it's still not as act.
Can I ask you a question on this, Donna? So I am 100% in the camp of online efficiencies and digital lease signings.
Absolutely.
Um, have you seen any RTGRS hearings where this has been a contentious point, where it's been part of a case or a hearing that's been held?
No,
Okay.
not a one.
So this is Donna being very smart and proactive and protecting people's, you know what, in
You
case of
know,
an FYI might happen.
exactly. You know, it's just you have to understand that the RTA is going to prevail. So it's not a problem until it becomes a problem. So
Mhm.
everybody says, well, the Electronic Act says this, says that. The RTA doesn't say that. It's very clear what it says. So I always say, you know what, if you want to serve by email and they acknowledge they received it, that's great. It doesn't hurt to still post a hard copy somewhere or give them one. It doesn't hurt.
Um, I'm thinking out loud here. It sounds like I'm adding things to my ever-growing list of to-do items, but perhaps we could support that letter you've written to Service Alberta with some signatures, perhaps
Yeah,
across this
and if we
community.
have to, we'll get there. I sit on the RTAC committee as well too, so I'm hoping it gets through, but don't you worry, I'm gonna ask for member assistance if I need it, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, well,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that
yeah.
benefits everyone, especially if you got
It's a
two
big one.
consenting parties, right?
Yeah, it's a big one. It'd be great to have that done, for sure.
Cool. Okay. I was a lot quicker than I expected because I know when we talked about it first at hand, and we went. Just, I remember it being a little bit more of a longer conversation.
Well, I do. I have pages and pages on it because everybody keeps asking me about it, but the simple end all be all is what I just said, right?
Yeah, it is what it is. Well, and just, I mean, it's a matter of the law catching up because I mean, today you
Yeah.
can do DocuSign or digital e-sign or
Well,
digital sign to buy a house.
you could do I signed digital signing to do a mortgage.
Yep.
Like, I was like dumbfounded. I'm like, really? They did, however, come to the house and we had to re-sign in person the agreement again. So
Oh,
that was very
really?
interesting. Yeah.
Actually, you
So
bring
there
that
was a
up.
commitment and
Yeah.
then they came and signed it in person. It's pretty cool.
My mortgage renewed on my primary residence. Was it February 2020? No, it had to be a little bit later than that.
Okay.
But by the time I got signing, COVID had happened. So what we did was it was a Zoom call. I
Yeah.
had physical paperwork all printed off in front of me, and I signed it on camera in front of them. So it was like this weird virtual mishmash of a paper signing. That's what
Yeah.
I had to
Well,
do.
COVID brought to light a lot of different ways of dealing with things, right? So
Yeah.
this was just another one that, it's happening. Electronic is happening. I accepted my lease over electronic everything. So,
Mm.
do we have nobody in the room yet?
No one said hello. I know it's a
Does it
quiet
say
day.
stream this to your audience at the top? Are we supposed to do that?
No, it is. We're live in 2 Facebook groups and a YouTube channel.
Okay.
We've got 7 or 8 people right now watching,
Oh,
so
well, that's okay. They're listening then. That's
they're
okay.
politely listening. Maybe they got their mouth full of lunch right now, and they're
I
just
like I
taking
like
a
people that
lunch alone.
politely listen. That's cool. I like it.
Okay, okay. Let's get into the list here. So I have grabbed 3 questions. I'm now thinking maybe I had to grab more questions. Usually, I found we take so long talking that I don't get a chance to dive into questions. But let's get into it. So there's 3 posts that came up. The first one is the do's and don'ts. Let's do the 24-hour notice of entry. So one conversation, I'm going to kind of get some context for you, Don, and I'm going to let you chime in with some knowledge here. A landlord's gone. They're having trouble getting access to a property. The tenant has been refusing. And so they asked the question, 24-hour notice. I want to inspect the property. look for, any repairs, be proactive about maintenance, and the tenant's refusing. The tenant has said that they've got health issues and have doctor's appointments at the time the landlord's trying to get this 24-hour notice set up. So, and I can tell by the kind of the tone of the conversation, the context, the landlord might be coming across as asking if it's okay to do the 24-hour notice, which I think from a starting point, that's probably fine if you can get consent. But if that doesn't come clearly from the tenant, what are the landlord's options here? Is this really something that's optional, Donna? Do we have the right to do this?
A 24-hour notice, as long as you give a 24-hour notice, and you have a time frame, I'll be there between 8 and 12. I'm a stickler for a 4-hour timeline. That's always a good way to have it. So as long as you give a 24-hour notice, you have the right to go into the unit, whether the tenant's home or not home. Whether they'll let you in is the other side of life. So I had a tenant who wouldn't let me in. She blocked the door, so she wasn't letting me in. So I posted another 24-hour notice that said, I'll be here tomorrow with the police. Now, we all know the police are extremely busy right now. They're probably not going to come. So you could say you will be there tomorrow with a 14-day eviction if she doesn't allow you, because they're interfering with your rights, right? So you can try that. Sometimes you don't want to do that. Sometimes you phone them up and say, hey, I just want to come in and do a maintenance check. You don't need to be there. I'm coming in. I'm posting a notice. If I have to bring a locksmith because you did something to the lock, I will, and I will charge you back for that. So you have every right to go in. I used to take the police with me if I needed to. So as soon as I posted the notice that I was coming with the police, they let me in the door. It was good. But you have the right to go in on a 24-hour notice.
Mhm.
Be reasonable. Be reasonable. Don't say you're going to be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 8 o'clock till 7 o'clock at night. Please don't do that. That's not fair to the tenant. That's their home. Please try to be fair. Give them 4 hour. I'll be there between 8 and noon or 1 and 4 or whatever. And a blanket notice is just unacceptable.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Donna. So
Yeah.
when I go and do my notices, I usually try to give more than just 24 hours. It's usually 3 to 4 days, and I actually do it through informal communication, text and email and phone calls. Uh, Keep in mind, if the tenant does say no, they can cancel at any time. You're hooped because you haven't done the proper 24-hour notification, which, as Donna's mentioned, is a physical piece of paper taped to the door and how it has to be delivered. So that is the RTA by the book way. But if you've got generally consented parties and you're on good terms, I don't think you need it until you get to that point where the relationship might be a little, I don't want to use the word strained, but you have to do it by the books if you're not on the right side with your tenant.
Yeah.
So to Donna, what you're saying, and I think you said some really smart points I want to highlight too, is you go and do it. If you get refused, you've softly explicated one, it's not optional. You're going to come back. There'll be additional costs associated, including locksmith, and you can use it, see if they'll call your bluff, but use the use of bringing law enforcement
Yep.
as well.
And just say, if you don't let me in, you're now interfering with my rights, and I'll issue you a 14-day notice
Oh,
to vacate
that was the
for
other one I wanted to.
financial breach, So you can try that. I've never come to that point where I've had to. Most of the time they let me in. Hoarders, past life, I had a hoarder who wasn't going to let me in at all. And it was like I said, I'm going to come in one way or the other. You better let me in to try to help. So she did. But yeah, it's a matter of being firm, fair but firm, firm but fair.
I like it. Yeah, and I think perhaps what happened when I was reading through this posting with the landlord is they struggled they struggled on coming across firm, and like you said, like this is law, like this is a requirement. It's for your safety. Keeping the costs and repairs down the property, which if they are at your fault, costs can come back to the tenant as well. We don't want that to go there.
You bet. Just be fair with it. Like right now, I know they're somebody called me, they're selling their units and they gave the tenant a blanket notice. They're coming in every day, Monday to Saturday from 8 till 5. I'm like, no, don't do that to me. I live there. That's my home. I have a dog that I have to take out. No,
No.
don't do that.
Yeah, and
You're just going to create big animosity. Hey,
totally, and putting yourself I think the easiest way to keep things pragmatic and fair is you put yourself in their position. Would you appreciate someone giving you that same kind of expectation? And it's not fair.
No.
Yeah. So what and just for on the piece of paper, I'm gonna see because I think I know, but what should actually, I'm gonna try listening what should be on the notice, and then you can quiz me, Don, and see if I get this correct.
Hang on.
So you what's that? What's that?
You grab one. I'll let you know whether you're right or
Oh,
wrong.
okay, good. Okay, so
Oh,
the key
froze.
the key pieces of information that we need here is the address to which we're entering, the name of the landlord or landlord's agent, the time frame that you're entering, and I would say what would be a fair time frame? Up to 2 hours, Donna? I think that's kind of reasonable. I get to, you know what? It depends on the reason. If it's maybe a quick inspection that can be done in 20 minutes or less, keep it to an hour. Obviously, if you're there for a maintenance call, it's a 2-hour repair, then of course give the 2-hour window.
You're going to be on this day between the hours of this time and this time. I always say a 4-hour. If you can go to, it's always best to give them that.
Okay. Yeah. So there we go.
You bet.
2
What
hours.
else is on it?
The reason of entry. So inspection, whatever it might be, a repair of ABC item.
Showing.
Yeah, viewing, showing. You need to sign off and the date. Did I get them all?
Nope.
Man, I'm missing something. What
You're
am I
doing
missing?
dated. You're doing dated this blank day of blank, so the date is there. But you also want to make sure you put the date and the time that you served that notice.
Ah,
The
there's 2
24-hour
dates.
notice,
Yes.
enter, put the time on it, take a picture. I have one owner that puts his watch up or his phone up to show the time and takes a picture of the notice on the door. So if you're having trouble, do that.
Smart.
The
I like
date and
that.
time it was served. So if you serve it at 1 o'clock, you can't go until 1 o'clock the next day, period.
So I met just one item I missed, or is it 2?
In which?
I only missed one item on the 24-hour notice. Was it just the
Yep.
that's okay?
Just the one.
That's
Just
not bad.
the
Okay.
time. Yep. You did
Good.
good.
All right. Good fun stuff. Yeah, cool. We're kind of trucking
And
along.
realtors seem to think they can go in anytime.
Yeah, no bueno. We don't want to be doing that.
I'm going to talk to them.
And I think too, like I said, coming back, I generally don't do this unless I'm pressed into this position of needing to be pretty clear by the law, because I keep my relationships pretty good and with a lot of open communication. But you use your judgment in your situation and what you can and cannot do, and that's kind of the takeaway here. Okay,
Yeah, you
very
bet.
good stuff. Let's get to my next question. We might only be done this show in like half an hour. No one's asking questions, which is like crazy. And by the way, if you have a completely question not related to the ones we're talking about, but something that's you're struggling right now with the entrepreneurial life of being a landlord, then please ask the question. If you've got the question, that probably means 10 others are thinking it and haven't asked. Okay, so that was this is a great and timely one. We're in the middle of lease season right now, peak season. Lease renewals and rent increases. So what was the question in this one here at this point? Yes. Okay. So I'll read the question as it's written out. Donna, then I'll give you a take on it. We had the community chime in with 48 responses or comments, which was great to see. Good morning, landlords. I have sent my tenants an email requesting their intent on renewal, as well as notifying them of my intent to increase the rent by $250 at renewal. And depending on how much the rent is, this could be well acceptable. But just keep that in mind because we don't have that context. Their lease ends on the 31st of August. They've just ignored my emails and text messages and asking if my emails have been received. I'm trying to avoid a month-to-month situation. At this point, what would you advise I do? So first, this is very dependent on the lease, but do the leases that you guys have at the RLA go month to month if they are a fixed term lease? Do they default to that?
No.
And why is that a good thing, Donna?
Either or. Well, if you're on a fixed term lease and it goes into They go past their fixed term and nothing is renewed and nothing is signed. I call that overholding, and now they're in an implied tenancy. So the agreement's still intact, but it's an implied tenancy now. I just don't like it because now you've created a mess. So it's either you're a fixed term tenant or you're a month to month tenant. So many people call and they say, "Oh, my tenant's lease expired and they didn't renew." I said, "Well, now you have an overholding tenant with an implied tenancy." So the RTA applies still. There's still rules in place, but it's best to not let that happen. It's best to have something concrete in place that says yes, you're this, or yes, you're this. I don't. My
Can you?
best, my best guess.
Kathy has the same question I have. We've got some live questions coming, so thank you, by the way, for hanging out with us. I have the same question. What is an implied tenancy?
An implied tenancy is one where the tenant moves in. Say the tenant moves in and they didn't sign the lease agreement, but they're paying rent. It's implied that they're a tenant. Or
Yes.
they've moved in and you've accepted their rent. If somebody's moved into your apartment with two people, say, I've had this. They move in, there's two of them. They don't sign any agreement. One of them leaves. Now you have an implied tenancy because they're paying rent. So
And you've
even if
accepted
they
it,
both stay, it's an implied tenancy, right?
right?
So an implied tenancy means you'd have nothing in writing, but
You're
you've
acting and carrying
accepted
business as
them.
normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've accepted rent, you've given them, they phoned you for repairs, they have keys to the unit. It's now an implied tenancy.
So if you get yourself in this position, so one key thing is don't accept the rent if you've got an expired fixed lease, so he
And you
doesn't go
wanted
in.
to renew. Yeah.
Yeah, and there should be communication going on at this time saying I have no intention not to renew, and so they know that they need to move out, even though you don't need to do that by law with the RTA, but best practices we're talking about.
Best practice is to give them a good month and a half warning that says, hey, do you want to renew your lease agreement? If I don't hear from you by this day or this day, or by the first of the month, I'll assume you're vacating and I'll be showing your premises to rent to somebody else. You know what? You want to make sure they either sign it or don't. And if they don't sign a new fixed term lease agreement and you don't want them on a month to month tenancy, then stop accepting their rent and tell them to move out. Like just tell them you're going to proceed to court to get possession of the unit. As soon as you accept rent, you have hit that month to month tenancy now. You're at month to month.
So question to you, Donna, does the rules and does the previous lease structure flow into this month to month, or is it basically you've gone month to month with no written lease?
You have the other lease would be the Residential Tenancy Act will prevail no matter what.
Correct.
So there are rules still there.
Oh yeah. That would be your lease. But what I'm asking is, let's say I have probably, as I would expect most landlords, if they're using your lease or their own, they probably have more detailed coverage that goes beyond what the RTA does, as long as of course it's compliant with the RTA. What I'm asking is, if I have caught myself in this position and I go from my fixed term and I've implied my tenancy now, do I still have the rules and regulations and all of my clauses and terms from my previous lease in the fixed term? Is that applicable to this new situation? Or have I essentially got myself into a month with no actual lease and I'm governed by the RTA?
You know what? I've never been challenged on that one. I can't even answer that one.
Okay. I'll have to write this down.
That's one we have to, yep.
Write this down. The next time we get to have get the lovely folks of RTRS in the room in Service Alberta, I will ask that question if I remember to do it.
That is a good one, because the RTA prevails anyhow. So if you have something in your lease that says that is not even in the RTA, but it was in your original lease, does it still apply? Is what you're kind of asking.
Yeah.
And in my mind, in my best guess, it would.
I think so too, but I don't know.
But I don't know the answer to that one. Look at that. You stumped me. I can't. You stumped me with one.
I'm gonna do a stump calculator. This is cool. Okay.
Good job.
All right. Awesome. So Kathy's just following up a couple more comments here, so I'm gonna just get her in here.
You also have one up there about pictures taking. Can a tenant deny having pictures taken?
Glad we went here because I've had this problem. Okay.
Yeah, go back there.
Well, okay, we'll wrap up Kathy's point. I think I read that if they had a fixed term lease and it's implied, it is another fixed term
No,
maybe that's not right. So
no,
oh no.
no. If you had a fixed term lease and it ended and they didn't sign a new lease, there is no fixed term lease. It's a month to month tenancy period. Period.
Oh, so you can't imply in your lease that, hey, you've signed a 1-year lease,
No,
and if nothing's done, it rolls into another auto 1-year lease
you,
term.
you could try it, but it's not according to the RTA. So if the tenant balks you, the RTA will prevail.
Okay, good
You
to
can put
know.
anything you want in your lease agreement.
True.
It's your lease still says if all else fails, the Residential Tenancy Act will prevail. So
100%.
you can do that anytime.
Okay. You said you saw one with pictures. Am I
Yeah,
not?
go up
Oh,
a
here
bit.
it is. There it is. Yeah, yeah.
There it is. Can
I wonder
attend
who
to
this
having pictures taken.
who is asking this question, if I can find it. Da, 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 da. Here. Close that down. Amanda Pope. Hey, Amanda. Welcome back to the show. Hadn't heard you in a while, which is
Hi,
awesome.
Kathy Highs. I see Kathy Highs too.
I like Kathy. I know Kathy quite well. She's awesome. Okay, so Amanda writes, can a tenant deny having pictures taken of the property if it's needed for an appraisal?
It's a collection of personal information. So the landlord needs to make sure the tenant is aware why they're taking the pictures, and they also should obtain consent from the tenant. I never asked for consent, but I always told them why, when it was going to happen, why it was going to happen, what was happening, and they have to make reasonable effort to ensure that how that the tenant understands why it's happening. I'm coming in to take pictures today because I'm selling the home. It's in the notice of entry as well. Coming in to take pictures of the home for sale of the unit to post because we're selling the unit. Please, if you can help me out by putting away your personal stuff, that'd be awesome. So if you're taking pictures, if it's a hoarder, you can tell them, or if it's condition of unit, you can say, I'm taking pictures to document the condition of your unit because it's not being maintained, but
Hmm.
you need to make sure that tenant knows why you're going in, what it's being used for, and what you're taking pictures of.
So I've been in this position. I was taking photos for my rental ad. I needed to update them because I
Yep.
didn't have current photos, and I had this conversation exactly just mentioned with my tenant at the time. I said, "Hey, I take these for my rental. If there's anything that's of a person that you do not want in the ad of their photos, like pictures of loved ones, whatever it might be, please take them down or make requests so I can blur them out or whatever the need was to remove that." And they're fine with it, completely fine. Everything else, that tendency ended a little bit on a firmer note, and I got an email. The ad had already been up for a week or two, saying that they wanted one of the pictures removed because it had some personal item in it. I can't
Yeah.
remember if it was a photo or if it was like whatever. They came and sent me some. So I ended up just removing that one photo off my ad, or I can't remember if I cut it out, but I've definitely been down the street. So, and I same approach is upfront, have that conversation. There is a business need or purpose. Like you, as Amanda's mentioned, she has an appraisal. I was updating my marketing. So, and I've actually, what's gone really well, I've updated before. I've had a tenant who did a really nice job. They had great furnishings. They just had really good taste and design to have their apartment. And I asked them, "Can I come in and your place looks beautiful. Would you be okay if I used it as an example for my ad?" And they took it as a compliment. They're quite pleased, and they were really really awesome to work
Yeah.
with. And they allowed me to bring in I had I went into realtor.ca and found some really good examples. And I actually when we talked to we requested from the realtor who's their photographer, and I got them in, and they did a phenomenal job.
That's awesome though. If you can do that, that's probably better. It's there's nothing worse than somebody coming in, and I've had it done to me myself. They come into my home and take pictures of my home that's getting posted all over realtor.ca for sale. Really, I don't want you seeing that I collect kitty cats or anything like that.
Very, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I stuff it everything into a bowl and everything. Yeah, it's important to make sure they understand why, so they know what to move away, right?
Yeah. And time too, right? Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Awesome. That was a good conversation. I like this. All right. So let's go back to I'm gonna try saying Deepith, if I'm saying it correctly. How do we involve the police if we need them to gain entry? I was told once by EPS, Edmonton Police Service, that they don't get involved in a landlord-tenant matters. So the short is, it depends. I'll let you share your experience first, Donna, and I'll share
No,
mine.
I had issues with the unit because I felt unsafe. So it's because we were part of the crime-free program. If you don't know about the crime-free program, I was feeling unsafe going to a unit by myself. They wouldn't allow me access, and there was people in there. Then the police came to help me with that. I wanted to gain access to a unit where a mom lived with her children. She wasn't letting me in all the time. That one, they said you can bring somebody else with you and just go in. So I think it depends on the circumstance. So now the answer you get most nowadays is phone the bailiff or phone one of the bailiff officers or whatever. Maybe they will assist you, or security guards. They're so busy, they don't have that opportunity to come and help anymore.
That's a really good point. A good alternative
Yeah,
that you brought up, Donna, is go through the bailiffs.
yeah,
That is actually their job legally, is to do the physical removal of
yeah,
the eviction side of the business.
yeah.
So,
And sometimes they will help with these to just if you have to get in, but I've taken security guards with me too.
perfect. Yeah. So the challenge here is there for law enforcement and for police officers and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, is the breadth of knowledge and legislation they need to memorize and be able to recall at hand is a lot.
Yeah,
And when they hear of a landlord tenant issue, it's generally I don't want to say the word lower priority, but it's a lower risk call for them. And they'll probably get the typical objection they deal with, a response saying it's a civil issue, it's not my jurisdiction. That's technically not correct. There's enforcement under the RTA through and it's noted in the ministerial regulations part of the RTA, which is how you enforce the RTA, the act, where police can get involved. For example, the most common one is changing of locks. It's illegal to do that, and I believe the fine is $470. I haven't looked at it in a while, but it's in around there. And police and law enforcement can do this, but it's rare. Actually, I don't think I've ever heard of anyone ever getting a ticket. Have you, Donna? No. Yeah. There you go.
no,
So there's that piece. But I think if you do have your paperwork in order and you've made reasonable attempts and you're being blocked and you do fear that there is personal safety involved, depending if the police have the availability in your schedule, you may get accommodated, you may not. But I do really like Donna's suggestion of reaching out to a bailiff.
yeah. Depends. Sometimes they'll help. Seems it depends.
Mhm. Okay, so just going through comments here. Wim's got one right now. How about Wim? If your lease agreement says that the tenant is responsible for yard maintenance, but you let it go month to month. Okay, so this just kind of follows up with the question we just
Yeah,
had. But you let it go to month to month, is yard maintenance still included or not?
yeah,
We're making the assumption here, if you've got an expired fixed lease in place and you've gone into applied tenancy, which we've just defined as you continue business as normal, no new
month to
leases
month.
signed, and you're accepting rent and all that stuff. That's an applied tenancy. Uh, we're not actually sure. We're gonna dig in to find that the accurate answer. I'm gonna say no. I don't think your previous lease will be upheld because it's expired, and I think you're now governed. Your lease is the RTA, which you don't want to go there because there's a lot of what's the right word, Donna? The RTA is there's more areas of interpretation that could go the other way with the RTA being only your lease, whereas
Yeah,
that you can be a little bit more clearly language in a properly documented
yeah,
lease, which is what you want to
yeah.
maintain control. Okay.
So when your lease expired, you went into an implied tenancy. If you accepted it, now you're in a month-to-month tenancy. So now you're in a month-to-month tenancy. Does that same list apply? We'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah. The question of the day.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you know what? I've never had it. I've always, yeah, I've never had that.
Yeah. You're very welcome, Amanda. All right. I did an explanation and advised to put away personal items, and they still refused entry.
So
Yeah.
now you have a breach of this. Now you have a substantial breach. They're interfering with your rights. I'd give them a warning or an eviction. I
And
think you have that.
yeah. This is going back to getting access to do photos of the property for either
Yeah,
appraisal or other part of
yeah,
the business. So when
Or you
you do
talk to them
this,
first, say that, right?
so when you do this, Donna, like, is your next step a phone call or is it an email documenting like, hey, you're now in breach because I can't perform my job? I guess it depends on your
I'm a
relationship with the
stickler
tenant.
for written. I'm a stickler for written. Please be advised that I need to gain access to do this. I understand your hesitation. However, you are now interfering with my rights as a landlord, and I will be proceeding to do this anyhow on this day. If they refuse again, give them another day and then give them a substantial breach notice. I would do that. If they're
Okay.
not going to comply and you don't want to push it,
Yeah.
you hate doing that, but I like phone calls. I like talking to them. Maybe they just don't understand.
Hmm.
Maybe they're just kind of like they don't understand. That's their home. That's hesitation. You're coming in, right? So
It,
that's
it it is an intrusive,
it
but it's a
is
intrusive part of the business, but it's again a requirement to maintain property. So
part
I
of what
can
it is. Yeah.
sympathize or you be empathetic to how they're saying. But Donna, you just laid a very beautiful playbook. If people are wondering the exact steps to do, Donna said, "Do it. If you get blocked, call back in writing." And I like layering communication mediums
Me too.
because phone call, a text message, and an email. If you ever have to go to the RTS, you share those three things, and that's how you convey the message. Especially if they've given you a read receipt or have confirmed in writing that they've received one of those mediums. You've planned for the worst and you hope for the best. That if you have to go down this route, you're well set up to have high degrees of success in the hearing.
Yeah.
So lovely. That is lovely, lovely. Okay, we've got lots of comments. This is great interactions, and we're a little over halfway through the show. Okay, back to 24-hour notice. Can you clarify how it applies to suited properties? If you are entering the main floor suite, do you need to give notice to the basement tenant, or only if you will be entering a common area? How do outdoor spaces apply? This is a fantastic question. There's so many more nuances. This is back to Amanda. Good question. So I actually have questions on this too. So Donna, do you want to rip in this one or do you want me to take it? You go first.
If I'm only going into the suites on the top floor, I give notice to enter for the top floor suites. Nobody else, I'm not going into anybody else's space. I'm not opening their door. I'm not giving notice to anybody but the top floor suite to go into. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, if you're going to be in the common area painting, you might want to give 24-hour notice that you're painting or more. Somebody might be allergic to paint. So it depends what you're doing in the common area.
Okay.
And outdoor space, I like to be proactive. So if you're spraying for weeds outside, I'd give notice to the tenants to do that.
Mhm.
Um, their yard is their yard. Maybe if you're talking about going into their yard, you need to give 24-hour notice to go in their yard if it's part of their exclusive use. I think that, yeah, I'm not understanding the question too much here. What are you doing in the common area, I guess?
So I think that I think there's an important nuance here to help kind of clarify the answers that we're giving here is there's a different expectation for an apartment building with common areas of 20 plus units and then a landlord showing up on a single family house with a basement suite. Why are you on the property of a single family house? The tenants might be surprised to see you there if you're walking around their backyard, which going back to this implied private space. So um, let's just talk within those two contexts. I think on the larger multifamily side, tenants won't care if you're in the hallway of a multifamily building because it's
No.
very common non-private space, right? It doesn't have that implied feeling. But in more of us our mom and pop landlords here and myself and definitely in that camp, I've got suite properties. Um,
Oh, I see. If you're entering the Maeve Cave, okay, now I get it.
yeah. So
Sorry, guys.
no, it's okay. This is why we're in the conversation because there's so many nuances to this business. This is
Yeah,
important. So,
yeah.
in the in a single family house with perhaps a legal basement suite, so it's technically two units like a
2
duplex.
tenants, yeah.
I try to give everyone a heads up. I've been lazy in the past where I've only talked to one tenant if I'm only directly impacting the one tenant. So let's say it's a plumbing issue upstairs.
Yeah.
I typically what will happen is I remember like an hour before or as I'm getting ready to drive down the property, I'll text the basement tenant and say, hey, by the way, I'm going to be at the property in the next hour. There's no entry to your unit, but I'm there helping out the upstairs tenant with whatever reason I'm there. Plumbing repair, inspection,
Good
teach their
idea
own.
anyhow. What if the plumbing needs to go to the basement? So
True. If it's that one, then I give everyone a heads up.
yeah,
But let's say it's an example that's only pertaining to the one unit,
yeah,
I may give them the proper 24-hour notice, and then I might just give a courtesy text to the other unit on the property that's not directly affected.
yeah, it's a good
But yeah,
idea.
if there's any direct impact to both, then I just give everyone the notice. Why not? Then you're protected in case you have to enter the other unit if it's a
And if
more
they're
severe
going into the
repair.
yard, give them more, they need notice sent too. There was a case, I think it was RTDRS, where the landlord went in and removed a tree in the tenant's exclusive use area in the yard. And the tenant was very angry about that, and because they rented the place because of the tree. So that went to court. I laughed.
Really
Yes,
interesting.
yes.
What was the?
They had to plant him a new tree.
Oh, okay.
Yep. They didn't give him notice that they were going in to cut the tree because she said if she would have known that, she would have moved out before that and found someplace else to go because she loved that tree. That was where her dog was buried. It was a long, sad story. There was more to the
Her dog
story.
was buried on the rental property.
There was more story. Yeah, there was more story to this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But that was where that happened. She'd been there a long time. Tree was removed.
I have to go back and look at this. I mean, this might be a municipality, but what is designated as a private space in let's say we're talking like a suited house, and there's like tenant gets half the backyard, the other tenant gets the other half the backyard, so it's all considered private space,
I think
and
it's
then
exclusive use space, not
or
private.
exclusive. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that have to be? Is an exclusive use all of the backyard, or does it fall within like the deck and the patio? Another question for our lovely friends at RTRS.
That's a good one.
Yeah, because you
If
know
you rent in a house and it is yarded in, then that you have exclusive use to the
that
backyard.
would be my thought. If it's
Yeah,
fenced
unless the
in,
landlord says you can't use the shed. The shed is mine and I'm not allowing you use of the shed. But the
yeah,
tenant would have to agree to that one, but it's exclusive use. I have
okay,
exclusive use of my patio where I live,
yeah,
but it's part of the common property.
yeah. And that's exactly the way typical suite properties are set up. Is the entry to the basement suite is through the backyard at the back door, and then I don't actually have it explicitly stated of exclusive use. I should look into it, but I know when we legalize the suites with the city, that is actually part of the basement suite, the requirement to have designated exclusive use. But they never asked me to document it anywhere. Now that I think about it, so
Interesting to look at.
yeah, very
Yeah,
interesting.
you have exclusive use of this area here, or this area here, or exclusive use of half the garage, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, my common sense approach too, and to kind of tag on to what Donna said, if you've got a garage or a shed that's not part of the lease and that's clearly stated, if you have to trot through the whole yard and backyard and go through the gates to get to
You
that
better let
shed,
them know.
you're entering their property space again. So you do need notice to get access to something that you've said exclusively is not part of the lease. If it's a garage off an alley, they never see you come and go,
Perfect.
you're fine. Again, a courtesy saying, "Hey, I'm at the property in the garage." If you choose to do that, depending on how frequently you go
Well,
there.
and who could you be in these day and age, you might be anybody in that garage. They're gonna call the police or something. So it's best to let them know all the time. Maybe 20 years ago you could have not gotten away with that. I don't think you can anymore. Somebody better know that you're coming, or you might find yourself in trouble.
Exactly. Unless you've set from
Careful.
the get go. By the way, I use this garage in my business. I come and go once or twice a week. Set that expectation, then they're not going to worry about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, this comes back to great communication, which is, I think, just such a critical part of this business.
huge,
Oh,
huge,
oh, what a fun conversation. Uh,
huge.
okay. Never thought of security. Good idea. I think they are more. Oh,
Yeah,
security guards. Yeah.
absolutely.
What a pro
They're
tip.
cost effective too. Yeah, if you find somebody, they will come.
That's a Donna pro tip. We're gonna
Hire
have
them.
a laundry list by the time we're done with
Hire
our
them.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
I used to
Awesome.
make them bring the dog. Like, they made me feel safer.
Oh, the
Bring
German
the
Shepherd. He's
dog, bring the
scary.
dog.
Okay. See more questions. With an implied lease, does the notice timeline stay the same? Example, notice to vacate due to house sale.
Okay, let's go back to the implied lease. It's an implied lease if you continue to accept what they're doing, and then it turns to a month to month. Be clear with that. So it turns to a month to month. It's implied tenancy that now turns to a month to month, just so that's clear. So does the notice timeline stay the same? Notice to vacate due to house sale. Because you're now in a month to month, it's a 90-day after sale conditions have been removed.
And I'll
So
preface that that's technically 3 clear months, so don't use
3 clear
9
months, 3
days
consecutive,
exactly.
sorry. I keep saying 90 days. It's not 90 days, 3 consecutive tenancy months.
Yeah.
I gotta get used to that one.
Yeah, I know. We had this come up on the old Shoptalk,
I
which
get
is
corrected
why
that all the time. Yeah, I know.
that's okay. No, we're just it's we imply the 3 months. It can be implied by 90, but of
Yeah,
course, it's not an exact 90
I
days,
get
so
corrected.
all good. Cool. And this was Tina, by the way. So thank you, Tina, for hanging out with us. Hey, and we hit double digits. We got 10 people on our show right now. So fun. Love it. I love these kind of things. They're great. Okay, William, on another topic. All right, man. Keep them coming. Noise complaints between upstairs and downstairs suites. Upstairs is 5-year tenants, never complain. So it's not like they've got great working history with this tenant. Downstairs tenants are new, and now upstairs is struggling with noise. Thoughts? Yeah. So this is where communication and set expectations come in critically to set up. Donna, what's your quick take on this?
What did I do? See, you start with written warnings. Start with written warnings. The give the guy downstairs warning. This is happening at this date and this time. Please stop. Happens again, you give him another one. It's sometimes I'd like to go hear what's happening. If the downstairs tenant says it wasn't me, then you go talk to them. I've gotten to the point where I've even evicted both tenants because I'm done.
Yeah.
So it's like you're both noisy, one's banging on the floor, one's banging on the roof. It's like either you live together or you're both going to be finding new places to go. But that took some time too to get to that. So that was a lot of warnings. So
Yeah, which is not fun either.
it's conflict resolution. It's trying to deal with the problem at hand. It,
Yeah. Yeah, Sam, I try not to raise the hair. I try to have 2 separate conversations.
yep,
Always go in the one that's complaining, saying like, one, have you had a conversation with them? Do they know that their regular behavior is in fact too noisy?
yeah, that's a tough one.
And so I kind of put the onus or the tenant's ball back onto the tenant side of court to take some basic steps to mitigate the issue. And then if it's going past that, I ask for some evidence. Like, listen, if I want me to do anything, I do need evidence. So at least with sound, I know smells. You can't take a picture of a smelly pitch of a whatever, but
You
of
get
a
that
vent.
one, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but the sounds, if there's a video or audio recording that's clearly showing loud music or yelling or whatever the type of complaint it is, perfect. Especially if it's after the bylaws, which I think Edmonton, Calgary are probably the same. It's no loud sounds after 10 or 11 p.m. at night. Whatever bylaws say that. So things like that, the more things you can kind of cross, and then I'd go into what Donna says and get formal and start writing written warnings.
Yeah, some of these are dependent on what's happening. Like, is the downstairs tenant blasting his music at 4 in the morning, or what's exactly happening? If he's
Or is it
making a
Game of
little
Thrones
noise,
release on Sunday at 6
yeah,
p.m. and that's their
yeah,
movie night?
exactly. Like it takes there's a lot there. Kathy gave me the RTA. As per the RTA, implied periodic tenancy, when a periodic tenancy is implied by operation of law after the expiration or termination of prior fixed term tenancy, the implied tenant, in the absence of fact, shows a contrary intention. The prior tenancy for a fixed term of 1 month or more, a monthly tenancy, or if the prior tenancy was for a fixed term of less than a month or weekly tenancy. Well, that's exactly what we said, I think.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Oh, wait. So if the prior tenancy was a fixed term greater than a month, it goes into a monthly tenancy. If it was a fixed term of less than a month, then it goes into a weekly tenancy. Beautiful. And section 13. See, this is what makes this show
Boy,
good.
I'm gonna read that 800 times.
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
Never run into that one.
Yeah. Oh, you're very welcome, Willem.
Thank you.
And
Look at me. After all my years too, somebody said that they're learning more. Look at me, I'm learning too. So it's okay.
it never stops.
Yeah.
That's why I love these conversations, because
Yeah,
now we've come up with 2 questions. And I'm like,
absolutely.
we get better and better. So, Cindy, what one would do in a case of substantial breach if the landlord accepts 6 months of prepaid, I'm assuming rent, so it says prepaid months. Let's say the breach happened after month 3. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna take an assumption on this question that we can at least answer correctly, and you can clarify if we're on the right track here. So we got, let's say, like a 12-month lease. They've tenants paid 6 months in advance for whatever reason. You've already collected those funds, and in month 3, there's a substantial breach of whatever, damaged property, unauthorized pet, noise, whatever. I think you just simply start the eviction process, do the documentation that we've talked about, and if you have to go to that eviction route, by the time they're evicted, you then have to, on your statement of account, refund any owed rents. You've essentially got a humongous damage deposit if you don't spend those months. Am I right there, Donna?
I don't know. They're two separate issues. You have a substantial breach that requires the tenant to vacate. The rent is not part, the prepaid rent isn't part of the RTA. So
Yeah, it's
yeah, you're dealing with the substantial breach first, and the rent would come after. You'd have to give it back to them
of course, yeah, yeah.
until the eviction. Once they're evicted, they're gone, right? So then you'd have to give it back to them.
Yeah, this would fall into that statement of account, which, that was my last question I had pre-queued up for the call here, was what these statement accounts look like and what information we need on them. And maybe I'll get tested again here by Donna, because I do it one way, and I wonder if I'm even doing it correctly now.
Everybody
But
does it different way.
okay,
Everybody does it different way.
mine's a
You know
simple
what?
email. Mine's
Yeah,
is well,
10 days,
yeah. There's 10, 30 days too. We'll get into that.
10 days after they 10 days after they vacate, you need to send them either their deposit back with their statement of account, or you need to send them a statement of account with an estimate with a portion of the deposit, if any, of everything except what you've estimated and you're unsure of. On
Yeah.
30-day mark, you need to send them a final statement of account with the remaining deposit or how much they owe. Keeping in mind, on the statement of account, if you do an estimate for $500 and the estimate comes back at $1,500, you're hard pressed to charge them $1,500. You're going to charge them $500 because that's what you've told them it will cost up to. So
Ooh.
a lot of people, like if I had people go into a unit, do a move out with the tenant, and they go through everything, and then they go in to do the cleaning and they find other things and they want to charge the tenant. But if you missed it at move out, you're hard pressed to charge for it. You could try. If the tenant comes back, you might not. You might have trouble getting that.
Hmm. And I get why this is such a struggle too, with especially as we're now more of a busier environment with trades and all that, trying to get quotes in a timely manner to make these deadlines work. Can you leave an item out, let's say cleaning, because cleaning, a deep clean on a typical 2-bedroom, 800 square foot apartment could be one cost if it's left in reasonable condition, and it could be a substantially higher cost if there is, like, I don't know, rotten food or deep clean of the stove, and if it's in really, really bad condition, that could be 3 or 4 times more the cost of what a regular clean would be.
Yep.
And you don't know that. Can you leave a question mark or leave that as a blank variable, or no?
On a statement of account,
On within the first 10-day, the draft one,
you
the
need to
estimated one.
do an estimate at least.
So, okay, that has to.
You
Can you
need to
do
do an
a dollar
estimate,
range?
because if you leave it blank and you don't send them any money, say they have a $1,500 deposit,
Yeah.
cleaning, if you think cleaning's gonna be $1,000, I put estimate $1,000.
So overestimate, I guess, really.
I overestimate it all the time.
Hmm.
Now, will the courts accept an underestimate where you charge more? Hard to say.
Yeah. Another good question for
Yeah.
our folks.
Yeah.
Well, and the next thing, can I give a range? Can I say I estimate this to be between $200 to $400?
Never seen it bought. I'd say $400.
Just keep it simple, go higher.
I'd just go high.
Okay.
If the carpet is steam cleanable, if you can, if steam clean carpet will be at $300. If you can't steam clean and requires replacement, $3,000. Like that's what I used to put.
Oh, you provide different
Oh, I'd,
costs for
I'd usually put
different outputs.
3,000. Yeah, I'd usually put $3,000 and then say if can be cleaned, will be only cleaning charges. So you could do that too.
Oh, see you guys, pro tips.
You got to,
Pro tips.
yeah, you got to do that. We have a webinar. If you're a member, you can. We have a webinar in December on turnover documentation, which is a really good one.
Oh, I'm there.
Yeah, it's a good one. Crystal does a good one on that one.
Cool. See, it's all these little nuanced pieces to word your document just right.
There's just those little things that it's not for that if the tenant sometimes it's okay if the tenant doesn't say anything and they agree with you, but if it fails and you have to go to court, that's when you're going to be challenged. So that's why I do it right.
Okay. So quickly on a statement of account is really just like a receipt or an invoice of the damage deposit coming in less any deductions.
Yeah.
Of course, if there's rent owing, it can go into the negative, meaning they owe you more money. By all means, it's really from the start date of receiving the damage deposit to the end of this lease or when it's been terminated. Any deductibles going both ways, credits, and then you just have a total balance at the end.
Yeah. This
Cool.
is it. Rent, put the rent. I always put the rent last.
Yeah.
You hope you're cleaning this, and November, December, January, February, March, April, May rent or whatever it was. Yeah.
Oh, this is a great pro tip. With when you're if you've got unpaid rent and damages to deal with, I would suggest going and putting the damages through the damage deposit first before you deduct the unpaid rent, because there are some services out there you can use to report unpaid rent, and you could possibly avoid needing to go through an RTRS hearing. If you deduct the unpaid rent first, and then you have damages that go past the remainder of the balance of the damage deposit, well, now you're in a position that damages are subjective. You can only claim them if the tenant does not push back. You can claim them, but if they do push back, you have to go through RTRS, which is a whole other documentation and court process.
If they owe you that much money, you should get an order anyhow.
And what would be that threshold, Donna?
You know what? I'm over. If the deposit is 500 and they did 3,000 damage, I'm at $2,500. I have a threshold. I always did.
And this was a balance of so yours was 2,500 of worth your time and effort versus.
If I was a small landlord, it'd probably be 1,000. I'd still get an order.
I like that. I like that too. Is there's this karma and reporting. I want to get these records transparent with everyone. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Okay, we're 2 minutes to the hour. Let's hammer a lot of these quick questions.
I want to go to the one, two, and then I have another function to get to here.
Okay.
I'm coming back to noise complaints. Does the written warning need to be on paper, hand delivered, or is email sufficient? I'm a big stickler for written everything. Document. Put it in writing. You can hand deliver it. You can tape it to their door. You can email it as well. Always in writing. Always professional, formal, dated, time, everything.
At least 2 mediums, preferably 3. And mine's phone call, text, and email.
That's perfect too.
Yeah,
I'm a big one.
And then, of course, if it's more of a sticky relationship where things are being tested, then as Don says, right by the book, which is always paper notifications taped to the door, and
always. At this point, if you're giving them written warnings, it's going to get sticky. So always.
Correct. So then, follow the RTA. This is Amanda. Could you clarify returning security deposit funds in a roommate situation? Is it safe to return to the initial person who sent the damage deposit, or do you need written instructions from both tenants on how they want the funds returned? Okay, I have a take on this. but I think I know the answer, but I'll let
Give me
you
your
go with
take.
this.
Give me your take.
My take is I don't meddle between tenants' relationships. They're adults. They should be able to sort their own things out. Whoever sends me the money will get the money sent back.
Huh, and I used to do opposite of you.
Oh, what do you do?
If both of them signed the tenancy agreement, they're both on the lease, you can go after them both when they owe you money.
Correct.
When
Yeah.
you're giving them back money, I'd split it in half, whatever was remaining.
Huh. Do you ever get
Oh,
pushback on that? Probably not, eh?
with half and half? If
Yeah.
somebody said, "Well, I paid," or usually you got the call that said, "By the way, I paid the whole deposit," she agreed, I just asked for a quick note.
From both. Yeah. So
Yeah.
then I see communication. They both are okay with it. So there's no surprises when you've made the decision how to split the deposit back.
Do you know how many times this caused issues because the ex-husband vacated and left the wife there or whatever it was, and so you give half the deposit to her and half to him?
Lots.
Causes grief. It caused grief, but rules are rules.
Interesting. So
Yeah,
yeah,
half and half.
I mean, I've kind of been in that situation. I know I got to go here, but I'll quickly explain that I've had sisters rent, and one whatever family she moves out, she's asked to be removed off the lease. There's only like 3 or 4 months left. I'm like, well, I'm not taking you off the lease. Unfortunately, this is a contractual obligation. You're free to leave the property. It was the other sister that was doing the transfers anyways. I was paid fully anyways, so I had no problems, but she wasn't coming off the lease. And then I've always just returned the funds to whoever sent it, and I've always said between you guys to sort out. Whoever sends it will receive it,
Yep,
unless you tell me unless they explicitly give me instructions, like you've mentioned, they're both CC'd in the
yep,
email to tell me differently. Then I will do it. I just default to dealing with the one person.
yep.
So many nuances to this business. I love it. Okay, we are 1 minute over the time. Lovely Donna's got a next commitment to get to. Um, we're gonna drop down. I know in the next month here to one shop talk with Donna. I might see if I can get another co-host to carry on these lovely conversations because there's just so many nuances to the business. But this is the only show dedicated to all things landlord in Alberta, the Alberta Landlord Community Shop Talk Show. We'll catch you guys on the
And you
next one.
stumped me today twice, so I got some research to go do. So I'm gonna find out some more. We're gonna come back to implied tenancies and the lease agreement that's in place or not.
Yes, love it. Absolutely, folks. We'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for
Okay.
hanging out with us.